Hi, Sanam. This is Ram Krishan Singh. Good morning. And today I'm inspired to share with all of you. I was speaking with a friend yesterday. In these challenging times, it's just, uh, I guess the world right now seems a little tumultuous and there's not much stability. And even in spiritual community living, it can be challenging because if people are going through their own inner processes, it can be very unsettling for new people to the community because it feels like those people are not offering stability, and in fact, they're almost multiplying a sense of instability when someone goes to talk to them and they rely on them, and then they're unstable. It just creates a instability. So it feels like this is a prevalent situation in the world right now, and it makes a lot of sense. Things that we've depended on are not there anymore in terms of being stable. We can't really rely on the way that things have been. So it feels like, what can we trust? What can we rely on? What can we hold on to as something that's solid? So I wanted to offer this reflection today and this encouragement for everybody. Um, so for the past 15 years, out of high school, I have had a practice or a discipline that I would do every single day. And I traveled around for a large part of my 20s. For most of my 20s, I was traveling constantly. I didn't have anything that I could consider stable or consistent. No schedule, no rhythm, no routine, no dietary preference, no nothing. So the only thing that I was able to really find as a sense of stability was my own inner practice, my own discipline that I would do every day. And so there's a yogic science that talks about this same principle that and then the Buddha talked about this. He said that make yourself your own sanctuary. Find your own sanctuary inside of yourself rather than find it outside of yourself. So when we have some sort of a commitment that we create in our life, when we have some sort of a discipline that we follow every single day, it it has an effect on our physiology, which which also translates to our psychology, our mental realm, and then our emotional stability as well, because our body is regulated essentially by rhythm. And the more that we can have a stable rhythm or something that's consistent in our day to day experience, we are in fact encoding a sense of stability into our biology. And that again translates to the psychological level and our emotional level, which creates a sense of stability that allows there to be a more subtle blossoming of spiritual dimension and feeling more connected. But it really is rooted in a daily practice, something that's consistent every single day. So this doesn't need to be any specific type of discipline in terms of tradition, Buddhist, Native American, whatever. It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't even have to be like a meditation or like a yoga or whatever. It can be whatever activity has meaning to you in terms of your life vision and your sense of who you are. And it gives you a sense of connectedness to who you are, so that you can every day at least have in your experience a period of time that gives you a sense of connectedness to yourself. The rest of the world can be going crazy and chaos all around ourselves, but the more that we can consistently cultivate a sense of this is who I am, and I'm creating the space for that, and allowing that space to be sacred. We create it as a sacred space, and then we include through that activity the sacred in our lives, and we encode in our biology a pathway to the sacred, and that allows us to access that space throughout the day and more the more that we cultivate a clear connection to that space. I hope that makes sense to everybody. But it's an essential piece. And when we would work with people in the jungle, you come to the jungle and people experience life transformation. They experience feeling at home for the first time in their life because everything around you is supportive and nurturing. And then we can essentially relax and allow ourselves to be open and receive and feel a sense of communion. It's almost automatic. But what happens, we go back into the city environments and the society, and the whole structure is not created in that way. It's not supportive. It's in many ways, it's the opposite of that. So what's really important is to have that inner discipline, that consistency, and that space for the sacred every single day in our life in order to have a sense of holding on to your true core identity, to our true core identity. We need that consistency. So in the yogic science, talks about how there are different periods of time. For example, there's 11 minutes, there's 22 minutes, 31 minutes, 62 minutes, 2.5 hours. And those are like key amounts of time to create specific biological effects within our physiology. And I found them to be really precise and really profound in terms of my own practice. So 11 minutes, essentially, if you want to do something, 3 minutes is the minimum really recommendation to do something. Because 3 minutes will allow the blood circulation to go through your entire body. It'll create a change on the biological level, and it'll circulate it. So 11 minutes is said, it affects the nervous system, and in my own experience, it allows me to tune in to my state of being, because I could be chaotic and just my mind going all over the place, but it takes really 11 minutes to really tune in and become aware of what's going on inside. Maybe there's thoughts that have been going automatically, but we're not even aware of. But 11 minutes, you tune into that. 22 minutes allows for a sense of a container that holds polarity, essentially, because it could seem like a random thought pops up, another random thought, things are random, they're all over the place in the inner world. But after 22 minutes of a consistent practice of whatever it might be for you, could be art, could be anything, it creates a biological effect in the neurons of the brain that essentially creates a continuum of polarities. So it means that things are within a sense of wholeness. For me, it feels like a unity, a unified state of mind, where everything is within a sense of wholeness. So 31 minutes is said to balance all the elements within the psyche. And in my experience, what that does is it gives a more neutral sense of totality of who I am, but it allows things to come up without reactivity. It creates a really special and sacred space and container. It's a really nice time of practice. 62 minutes is what I found to be the most effective for myself at this point in time in my practice. And that does all the rest of that, and it also allows the conscious waking mind to sink down into subconscious levels of automatic activity that's happening all the time, but we're just not aware of it. So when we're doing something consistently for 62 minutes, it allows there to be a stability that's created that also the psyche just can drop down into deeper levels. And then whatever you're doing also gets encoded in deeper levels of the subconscious, so that whatever behavior it is, if it's a harmonious and healthy behavior, it becomes like a organizing, foundational structure that more of your waking life is organized by. Hope that makes sense. 2.5 hours, it is said that 2.5 hours will encode that whatever you're doing into your auric field and your energetic signature so that it carries you for the rest of the day. It stays with you, it doesn't fade, and it keeps you, in that vibration of whatever you're cultivating for 2.5 hours. In my experience, I've really grown to appreciate the 2.5 hour practice. It's not hasn't been a regular thing. It's been like a weekly thing for a little bit of my time, but with a child, it's not a new child. It's not the case right now. But 2.5 hours for me seems that at the end of the 2.5 hours, when I stop the meditation, I'm still in that same state of mind. And then that state of mind and that depth and that clarity that comes from going deeper and deeper and deeper and encoding that state into deeper levels of the subconscious, it just carries us throughout the day and feels like a very strong and deep stability and clarity of mind. It's profound, it's subtle, it's worth experiencing at some point. But in terms of a daily practice, you choose the amount of time you want to do. But it's such an important factor if you want to create stability in your psyche. Nothing outside of ourselves can we depend upon. We have to create the refuge within ourselves, and that comes with a daily, consistent practice that ideally allows you to connect with your core vibration, the signature of your soul, your essence. So it's a unique thing to you. Do whatever you like. There are many different techniques. I'll share one with you now that has been a profound teacher to me for many years. So this is a practice, it's called 5x5, and it synchronizes the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. It really brings the heart and the mind into a unified sense of wholeness, and it disengages us from automatic behavior patterns and reactive patterns. It allows us to drop into a state of neutrality. So it's really profound but simple. Start with right hand taking the pulse on the left wrist and just tuning in and feeling the pulse, but allowing our awareness to drop into that experience in as many dimensions of our awareness as possible. And then begin to inhale through the nose to the count of 5 pulse beats. Suspend the breath to the count of 5 pulse beats. Exhale through the mouth to the count of 5 pulse beats. And then suspend the breath out to the count of 5 pulse beats. And you repeat that 5 times. And so what this practice really helps to do is the whole of creation is encoded within that practice. The inhale is the receiving, the suspension is the ability to essentially be with what is. The exhale is the release or the giving. And then the suspension of that is just like this emptiness, this being in that stillness, in that emptiness. And it can have the effect of bringing up fear for a lot of people, and in my experience. And it's just important to just be with whatever comes up, whatever the sensation, whatever the awareness, whatever comes up. It's perfect. And it's part of this unloading process that happens with that technique in particular. But it also helps us to attune to that core vibration, which emanates and radiates from our heartbeats, which is encoded in our heartbeat. Every heart has its own unique signature, and our unique vibration is encoded within our heartbeat. When we tune our conscious mind into that beating, we're downloading automatically a very potent data stream from that essence of who we are. And that translates into many dimensions of our life. So it's a very simple practice, but it's also very shamanic, it's very multidimensional. You can go very deep with it. You can also expand the amount of breath beats, the beats that you're inhaling, suspending, exhaling, suspending. You can go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, do whatever you like. But it's a technique for everyone. And I think that in the coming days, I'll also share some other techniques, some physical practices as well. Some people have asked me, and there are techniques that some people in the Kundalini Yoga community right now are not feeling to practice Kundalini Yoga. They're very similar in their effects because it's a science. It's Kundalini Yoga is just it's a science. It's an applied science. It's called a technology. In the same way, there are many traditions who utilize that same universal truth in their own forms, and it's the same technology, it has the same exact effects. It's just a universal science. So I'll share more of those in the coming days. If anyone has any questions or anything that you ever want to have more discussion on, I'm happy to respond to those things. Um, I think that's all for today. So I thank you for joining me today, for listening. Thank you again for being you. Thank you for all that you do. Sat Nam.